Thank you all for being here. Thank you for what you do. I want to say thanks to Vince and his board and his entire team. I'm so proud to see how the organization has grown over such a short period of time. I don't know what my life would be like without Vince's sense of humor.
Sense of humor.
You know, this chapter that you all make up is the fastest growing and most active chapter in the National Farmers Union United. Which may be a little reason why Roger is here to join all of you. Where'd Roger go? Is he still here? There he is. Thank you very much for being here, Roger. Your leadership at the national level makes a tremendous impact on policymakers in Washington and brings voice to all of your chapters all across the country. I want to say thanks also to Ed and Troy and Alla and your whole family here for hosting us very generously and really with such warm hospitality. Chris Lee did a tremendous job in really talking about the value and benefit of this organization and the value and benefit of what that impact brings to policymakers at the county level, at the state level, and at the national level. I was gonna say a lot of the things that you said. I knew I should have gone first. So I won't harp on that point, but I do want to highlight what a tremendous leader Chris is for all of us on these very important issues, really serving as kind of the tip of the spear and being a voice for and amplifying your voices there in the state legislature. I see now as a time of transition for us here in Hawaii, but also in some ways across the country. There are some challenges that exist that many of us are well aware of, but with those challenges, it is our choice to turn those challenges into opportunities. For us here in Hawaii, with HCNS closing on Maui, it literally is an end of an era, transitioning it from the plantation era to a new era of opportunity for agriculture. And it is us having a seat at the table where we can have a say in shaping what this new era for agriculture looks like. And what better place than here in Hawaii, where we can remind ourselves, be inspired by the power of those who have come before us, of our kupuna who have come generations before us, and who continue to teach us about the power that lies within our land, the power that lies within our culture that we are surrounded by, of doing what is pono, taking care of the land and taking care of each other, and that being our tremendous responsibilities. The choices and the decisions and the actions that we take now will undoubtedly determine whether our future generations will struggle just to survive, or whether they will be in a position to thrive for a long time to come. Nationally, we are seeing the issue of water coming up constantly. Water as a precious and limited natural resource. And as we see these issues come up, I'm inspired by the activism and the advocacy that we are seeing at a grassroots level. That with the use of technology now, more and more people's voices are being heard, implementing change at the highest levels of our country simply through the use of Twitter and Facebook, and people stepping up and say, hey, I have a responsibility to do my part. We're seeing this most recently with the Dakota Access Pipeline issue, how people bringing this issue to light, protesters talking about how not only is this an intrusion on native and sacred lands, but it is one that threatens the safety of an important water source for the people who live there. The president heard the protests of the people speaking their truth and halted the continued construction of this pipeline. That battle is continuing, but we see the impact that's possible. We see our brothers and sisters in Flint, Michigan, who are dealing with lead-contaminated water due to very bad decisions and poor management, taking shortcuts that have literally poisoned an entire community. We're seeing here in Hawaii, something that we are currently battling right now on Oahu. The 27,000 gallons of fuel leaked into our Red Hill water aquifer, and the Navy requiring our action to hold the Navy's feet to the fire in doing the right thing, both to remediate the leak that has occurred, as well as to take appropriate and urgent action to make sure that such a leak is never allowed to happen again. So the situation that we find ourselves in, where there is so much eroded trust and frustration in those in government, those in the back rooms, those in the high corporate offices that are making these kinds of decisions, is understandable. But it is us gathered to here together is the only way that we can really change that. I value in my work in Washington as well as here in Hawaii being able to lean on Vince and the team at Hawaii Farmers Union United as well as the national folks to be able to work together to co-sponsor proactive bills to get their voices heard, but also to be able to bring voice to many of the issues that each of you are living and facing every day. Issues that encourage us to promote and support natural farming practices, sustainable farming practices, easing the hardships that many of our local farmers are facing where they're not allowed to or face serious obstacles in being able to live on the land that you're farming.
Yeah.
There's a long list to talk about, but I was reminded here of what was on this screen, and I'm glad that you guys are having presentations on hemp. The farming of industrial hemp, the opportunity that cultivating this crop as an industry here in Hawaii are great. The benefits are great. We are working actively in Washington to be able to eliminate a lot of the barriers that exist towards allowing that to occur. I think you're going to hear from somebody tomorrow in particular who I think is a pretty smart guy who I very much look up to and appreciate. Someone who shares my name, Mike Gabbard, is going to be here tomorrow talking about this. He's been a champion of this issue here locally. I'm getting on a plane back to Oahu as he is flying here, so you'll have to tell him hello for me. We're going to miss each other. But really all of this being a reminder of the power of farming. The power of farming. Water is life. It allows us to be able to grow the food that is necessary to live. But it goes so much deeper than that. I have someone here who works with me, Emily Emmons. She's my on-island liaison, but she's also a farmer. She is the wife of a veteran, a U.S. military veteran. Her husband deployed multiple times to both Iraq and Afghanistan, and came home with some deep invisible wounds. Came home dealing with really debilitating post-traumatic stress. This took a toll on him. It took a toll on their entire family. And they struggled with finding different ways to say, how can we help John heal? The one thing that they found and they kind of stumbled upon unexpectedly was when they had a plant that was dying at their house. And John saw the plant and he started cultivating the plant and watering it and taking care of it. And that was the first time in a long time that Emily saw, Emily's crying, so I'm going to start crying. It was the first time that Emily saw peace in her husband's heart again.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
So Vince mentioned this, but this is a true mission that Emily and her husband are on, and not only seeing the great impact that has made on themselves, but seeing how do we pay that forward. And it's something that they're trying to do through Ho'ola Farms, but seeing how can we expand this to our greater veteran community? How can we expand this to victims of domestic violence or crime or people who are suffering and who are in pain and can draw this healing power from our land. As we move forward, the advocacy, the activism, the organization that all of you allow happen through your membership, your active membership in organizations like HFUU, give you a seat at the table. It allows you the platform to be able to hold leaders accountable, which is truly the way that change happens. I've seen time and time again how legislation and amendments in Washington are crafted in the dark of night, and people attempt to pass them in these must-pass bills, hoping that no one takes notice. Sometimes it works, but it's when people like you stand up and make noise, speak about your own experiences, speak about what has to be done, that we have the opportunity to push down the brakes on things that will be damaging to all of us, and to be able to push the gas pedal on opportunities that will help grow this wonderful movement. You know, one of my favorite quotes comes from Mahatma Gandhi, where he says, "A small body of determined spirits, fired by an unquenchable faith in your mission, can alter the course of history." When things get frustrating, when things get hard and you think nobody's listening, I feel like we're running on a hamster wheel and we're not making any progress, look to those wise words that this small body gathered here today, remaining focused on that essential mission, can and must alter the course of history. It is not a choice. I appreciate very much the work that each of you do on your own farms, the efforts that you're making as individuals, and want to applaud you on the change that you are making as a collective body. And I'm so proud to stand with you shoulder to shoulder in this worthy fight. Thank you so much for having me. Now it's time for lunch.
Yeah, baby.
All right, thank you.